Hey, Mom and Dad, I'm going to Nora Dreamland!
Woo!
Greetings, fellow Armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And pie.
Along with our
Getting
trusty
such an
computer,
onset.
OB.
Still
Yeah.
like always.
I know, right? Kogias says Beast doesn't look happy to see Sleepy Beauty. Kogias, I hope you've read these projects. I hope you've read these projects with the context, my friend. As always, I have them in the description. All right. So tonight, we're going to talk about some public domain projects. We're going to talk about the Muppets crossing over with Sesame Street in Sesame Place, Philadelphia. We're going to talk about the completely unhinged Beauty and the Beast Dark Ride going to Nara Dreamland of all things. We're going to go on a tangent about Nara Dreamland. Like we are going to have a discussion about Nara Dreamland.
A tangent on a podcast? First time for everything.
And you know what, Pi? I have so many tangents that I want to get to that I'm not even going to do the thing that we talked about doing right before, good. Because honestly, and that'll just be a mystery for everyone. What did I want to ask you guys? You might never know. All right. But big question. We touched on it just a tiny bit during the debate last night, but I feel like, with this being a proper Imagineering show, Pi, Epic Universe, How to Train Your Dragon Land. What do you think?
It looks amazing. Like I said on the forum, and I'll say it again here, I don't really care about How to Train Your Dragons, like the movies, but like looking at that land, even as someone who doesn't care about the franchise, it might be the best land I've seen coming. Like I'm so excited.
Yeah, I love it for a variety of reasons. I think it's super exciting that we're getting a brand new theme park land that has more than like a fucking e-ticket and a supporting attraction, and that's it. Yeah. Because I feel like that's just how theme park lands are designed nowadays. You got the e-ticket, you got the supporting attraction. Most of the time, they don't even open at the same time.
Yeah. Dragons up, yeah. Yeah, sometimes you don't even actually get the e-ticket. You just get a promise of an e-ticket somewhere down the road, like Avengers Campus.
Oh, dude. It took them a full year to open that splash pad at Donald's Boat?
Yeah.
A full year. A full year.
Something behind the scenes has to have happened with that, though.
If it was Universal, they would very much have that damn Avengers e-ticket done in the course of a year, without question.
There's like a 50-50 shot if it'll be good or not, but it will be done within a year.
Right.
It's either going to redefine the industry, or everyone's going to kind of like forget about it in a year and be like, oh yeah, they built that. There is a Jimmy Fallon ride right near the entrance.
Oh, where do you think Reign of Kong fits into that equation?
I'm not a fan of Reign of Kong myself.
I'm a big fan of Reign of Kong.
Anyone? What was that?
I said I'm a big fan of Reign of Kong.
Yeah, most people are. Like I'm alone there, and like I'm okay with that. It's not bad. Like I do enjoy it.
I feel like it's a perfect supporting attraction in that park.
Yeah. Right. Hello, everyone coming in, by the way. Yes, Muppets fan, that is a haircut. Perhaps.
I said the exact same thing as soon as he came on.
I usually don't let my hair get that long before I cut it. I think the last time I let it get that long was coincidentally the last time I was on camera for a podcast was So You Want to Be an Imagineer.
Well, that's funny. Okay, so yeah, Epic Universe. I said it before on the boards, but I'll say it again. That damn splash battle attraction and just how many little kinetic elements are there in just that one little piece that we saw, that has me super stoked. I mean, you said it right. It really looks like this park is just bringing their A game when it comes to flat rides, which is super exciting.
And you mentioned kinetics, but kinetics is what really sells me on the whole How to Train Your Dragon land. Because you got the coaster weaving all in and out of it. You got that flat ride with all the water and moving things. You got the pop-up dragon animals around. You got the big, like, soaring, flying flat ride thing. I don't
That's
know
like the
exactly
one
what you
thing I'm
call
not
it.
really looking forward to, just because I don't really like to flip upside down on flat rides per se. Messes with my
Yeah, I have
stomach. If
no
I'm
idea if
flipping
I'm gonna
upside
enjoy
down,
the ride.
I'm doing an inversion on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right.
You're right, LEB. You can't trust me.
Oh God. Okay, well, let's
And
just
hello,
get.
Priest, and everyone here now.
Yeah,
We confused AGP, which is always good.
yeah. AGP. Honestly, you did send me the Birdman logo, which I appreciate. The thing is, the dimensions aren't going to work for the thumbnail, so I decided to go with Bell and Aurora, Bell, and Beast instead for the thumbnail. Yeah. All right. So you ready to just jump right into it? You want to have any pre-rambles before we get into the projects?
Well, for anyone who didn't know what the prompt was, or doesn't know what this is Citrus Dreaming. It's an Armchair Imagineering game. I'm sure you know what that is if you're here. The prompt this week was that through a legal loophole, someone who's not Disney now owns a Disney IP. One team went with Muppets, one team went with Beauty and the Beast, and the parks they were working with were able to do whatever they want with that IP. And that was about it.
So let's go ahead and start with Team Boats. As always, guys, the links are in the description for these two projects. I would highly recommend you check them out if you haven't already. Okay, so Team Boats did Muppet Mayhem at Sesame Place. Low-key, Sesame Place, if I were to ever go to a children's theme park like this, it would probably be this specific Sesame Place, specifically because Oscar's Wacky Taxi looks like a fun credit.
You know, I get that.
Like, if I could just go in and just marathon that ride in particular for a few rounds and just be done with it, I'd be satisfied. I'd feel like that was worth it.
Yeah. I'm sure tickets are pretty cheap to Sesame Place, so that's achievable.
I just don't want to be a creep. That's my main thing. I just don't want to be like a lone adult in a sea of small children. I do not want to be that guy. I already feel like that guy at Six Flags, okay? You can imagine how much worse that's going to be at Sesame Place.
Yeah, no, I know the feeling. That's one of the number one things that kept me from going to Legoland one time back in college. I was like, I'd be driving right past there. It's on my budget. I've never been to Legoland. Do I want to be a 21-year-old man by myself at Legoland?
You see, I don't think I could have done Legoland if I wasn't with my grandma. But with it being with my grandma, I was like, okay, we can use the excuse of like, this is nostalgic. We're revisiting my childhood park, which we totally weren't. But
oh, AGP saying adopt a kid and bring it with you. That's my plan for Pteranodon Flyers at Islands of Adventure.
Oh, man. We should just have a project that's just completely centered on Pteranodon Flyers.
There you go.
What the hell is Fraggle Rock? Muppets fan, are you serious? If you're serious, that's legit. I mean, it's not like Fraggle Rock is super popular, but man, that makes me feel old that your name is literally Muppets fan and you don't know what Fraggle Rock is.
Gotta look it up.
Fraggle Rock, I will dare say, is my favorite Jim Henson TV show out of all of them that he did.
This is why I also would be accused of being a fake fan. I never actually watched any of Fraggle Rock. All my knowledge of it is secondhand. I think Tiki just left. I made him angry. I have heard good things about it. I'll have to check it out eventually.
Nothing to say to that. You've never seen Fraggle Rock.
I know.
Shame.
I'm assuming they play music based on the name.
It's an educational show, but it's a very enriching educational show. Anyways.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay,
yeah,
so yes.
Mayhem at Sesame Place. I will admit, when they were choosing this one, I was at first really like apprehensive and thought this is not going to be that exciting of a project because Muppets already, like what makes Muppets great is they're a band of characters who work anywhere, so they're always being put in new situations. So I felt like, well, Muppets might be
They're
kind
also
of an
like
underwhelming
tangentially
pick.
related to Sesame Street.
Yeah, they also Sesame Street, they fit in naturally there, so it doesn't feel out of place. I was thinking when I made this prompt, like, well, what's Peter Pan gonna be like at a park that does big roller coasters? What if you do a Sally Duck ride, but instead of shooting a gun, you're shooting the fairy godmother's wand to grant wishes? Some of those like big like
Would
clashes
that
or
be a
go
wish
crazy
attraction
with
or a
this.
Cinderella attraction?
Yeah, it'd be great. But like Muppets at Sesame Place, it felt like a bit of a missed opportunity to go big with it. So I was apprehensive at first, and I read it, and I really loved it. Like y'all did win me over with this big time.
Let me ask you one thing. What do you think of they were originally going to go in the route of the Muppets as the Avengers?
That would have been interesting. I think what they did here was better, but Muppet Adventures, that could have been a really interesting ride.
I think that Muppets Avengers maybe would have been too much. And I think
Yeah.
what I really like about this version of what they did is that they basically kept all of the character interactions that they'd already been pitching for Muppet Avengers, but just kind of simplified it to just be their own characters, which I really appreciated.
Oh yeah. It was really smart how they did it. And I feel like Muppet Adventures, while it has a lot of promise, I think it would have been a wrong choice here just because then you're not really taking advantage of the Muppets crossing over the Sesame Street, which is what they did so well.
Right. And I think all these crossovers worked really well, but a couple highlights for me. Bert, Ernie, and Fozzie Bear. That was great. That was priceless. I could just totally picture that interaction happening.
That was perfect. That was a great scene.
This library has a lot of stories. I love the Count and Uncle Deadly.
What was that?
The Count and Uncle Deadly. I feel like that was like just a perfect combination.
Oh yeah. I like that the angle that they went with it is just that Uncle Deadly is like really a big fan of the Count. That was such a funny bit to go with them.
I mean, who isn't a big fan of the Count?
Yeah, of course. I feel like the Swedish chef making unlimited cookies for Cookie Monster, that was the one that got me.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Yeah. Miss Piggy, I do like the idea that she's kind of like this egocentric, like everyone is her friend. That's a funny idea. I have a fucking weird, like deep cut that I think they should have used as a song, and I'm curious how you're going to feel about it.
Okay.
I think they should have used the song Xanadu and just had it be a full-blown, like, roller disco scene.
That would have been, I think it would have been perhaps out of place in this ride, but also if it was a slightly bigger scale ride, that would have been amazing.
True, yeah.
Because that kind of like roller disco vibe, I pictured just like a mild version of that when I was reading what they wrote.
I'm just saying, just go all out with the Xanadu of it all. Xanadu was one of my favorite 80s movies, so.
Yeah.
LED says there should always be more Link Hogthrob, Peregrine's mortal nemesis.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Importantly, let's talk about the autism stuff, which I thought was very well handled. Naturally, that's something that's going to be close to my heart, and I think they did it really well. I really thought that the queue setup was very thoughtfully handled. I will say that is one of the things I did not like about Legoland is that I don't know what I was expecting for the queue to the Lego Movie ride, but I was expecting nothing. Let's put it that way. I wasn't expecting it to just be a series of switchbacks on the side of the building.
That's like the newest ride.
Yeah, I know. Based on like their beloved IP, and it's like just a courtyard of switchbacks.
That's weird. But no, the queue here was beautifully well done. Like especially the way it like weaved into the big shop and then had the inside section that's a bit more calm. and had all those like little cubbies for when you need low sensory areas.
Yeah, very nicely done, just in general.
Like you said, all throughout, they did a really good job with the like awareness of people with special needs and accommodations and people with autism and how to make it tailor-made, but without talking down to people, which was another thing I was a bit scared at first, is that I think this is going to be well-meaning, but I'm worried that this is going to feel like super pandering or
That's
whatever.
very important too. That's a very important, very tricky, delicate line to cross when you're talking about accessibility stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like they did it.
Mm.
Piggy
Just in general,
Swift.
I do honestly think that the weakest point in this project in general is just the concept. Not that the concept of, like, if this was to cross over two IPs, regardless of like the whole like public domain element of the attraction, then this would be a great like concept for sure. But I totally agree with you that I think the thing that did kind of hold it back for me personally was that it just kind of felt obvious. It almost kind of felt like a little bit of a gimme, where it's like, okay, we got Sesame Place, they're an established theme park, the Muppets are part of Jim Henson. Like, it just didn't feel like you had to jump through the same sort of loopholes that you would have to jump through in the Narrow Dreamland project.
Which, like I said, was my feelings at first too. What won me over on that point is how tailor-made this felt for Sesame Place, the park, not just Sesame Street, the IP.
Sure.
Like, the drop's only 6 foot tall. It's very clearly meant to be a young kid's ride. They saw that park was a autism center, so they did that focus on it. So I felt like it came... They did what I was looking for with the prompt, less with the IP being clashing and more with the, here's a park that's very unlike Disney and doing things Disney isn't. We're doing that.
Yeah.
But you're right that going a bit crazier could have been a bit more interesting. So it's a tough line to walk.
Like maybe just doing a straight up Fraggle Rock attraction at Sesame Place, for example, would have been interesting. Yeah.
I did really love the gag of what this was. What was it? 4, 5, 6 Muppet Square.
That was really fun.
Later,
that was
7,
really fun.
8, 9 Fraggle Rock.
LEB says they should have made a hardcore coaster. Yes, what they should have done is they should have beat the record of the Smiler for the most inversions on a coaster. Just a 15 inversion coaster.
Just name each loop after a different Muppet.
And it would still just be called Grover's Boxcar Derby or whatever. Like every other generic off-the-shelf kiddie coaster in every Sesame Place is called. But it's just extreme. Electric Mayhem Coaster. Dude, can we talk really quick? Why has that not happened with fucking Rock and Roller Coaster yet?
I'm really kind of surprised it hasn't. I feel like the only reason it didn't is because the Muppets Mayhem TV show tanked in ratings.
I feel like that's more Disney's fault than the Muppets' fault. I mean, they just did not advertise that thing right at all.
Really liked that show too.
Okay, but still, even if it wasn't like the most popular show in the world, Steven Tyler is literally like a bona fide predator, dude. He's a bona fide predator.
And like, if you switch it to any other band, you run the risk of them either becoming irrelevant or more coming out about them. You do Muppets Mayhem, you get the ride how it is without that. Powerline also is a great idea, though.
Powerline would be a good idea too. Yeah.
Powerline would be my close second for what I would want it to be.
Big Bird Gets High, the ride. Yeah, man, I'm the Bluebird of Happiness. God.
It all starts when Oscar the Grouch catches on fire by accident.
Oh no.
Do you know that's what he's made out of?
Speaking of which, I love the idea of Sattler and Waldorf and Oscar the Grouch being like really good pals, and I kind of wish there was more of that interaction.
Oh, that was
Cookie
so
Monster
perfect.
Special cookies, hell yes.
But no, Starla Waldorf, Oscar the Grouch was a fantastic bit. And like it works best at the ending. So obviously how they did it was the best way to do it. Just selfishly, I just want that to be the whole ride.
Right.
I want them to be the narrators, like Spaceship Earth.
Well, there was this point that we made. Oh, I forget exactly what it was, but I remember in So You Want to Be an Imagineer 20, maybe you can jog my memory on it. There was this point that I was making where I really liked one of your attractions, but I wish that a certain character would have narrated it. I don't know. My memory is shit when it comes to those projects.
That sounds familiar, but I don't remember what it was.
Little Blue's asking, is there going to be a Home on the Range 20th anniversary retrospective? If I can find anyone willing to do it with me.
I think the last time I watched Home on the Range was 20 years ago.
I watched it once 20 years ago, and then once more a few years ago when I did the Great Disney Ranking podcast. So I've seen it twice.
Ooh, that's a record, I think. Actually, I do remember having a friend around the time the movie came out whose little sister was obsessed with the movie. So they were watching it like literally every single day.
Ooh. And look, I actually like the movie a lot more than most people do. I totally acknowledge it's not a great movie, but I like some of the frontier kind of art. I really like Alameda Slim as a villain. I like some of the music.
Like, here's the thing. The standards are so high for Disney that, like, very few of their bad, worst movies are actually bad. They're just kind of like, all right.
Right. Ellie says, I kind of liked Home on the Range. Pretty good villain, at least. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Ooh, did Jim Henson not create Sesame Street? It's been a while since I watched that Defunctland series.
Yeah, I thought he did. Although maybe, I mean, he definitely created like the characters of like Rolf the dog was around way before Sesame Street. He was doing the Jimmy Dean stuff.
Yeah.
Kermit, I want to say, was around before Sesame Street.
Joan Gans Cooney. That guy did it.
Okay. Little Blue, I know that you've tried contacting me before and it didn't work out, so why don't you put your email in the chat if you're comfortable with that? I mean, obviously, all these other crazy people might be able to email you too.
Or you could join the forum and send it to them there.
There you go.
Links in the description.
Because yeah, you're absolutely right.
If next month,
if I don't find anyone else, I would be happy to. I would be happy to have you on for it because I know you've expressed interest in coming on for a while. So, all right. Let's see.
Kermit was around since I think it was coffee commercials. Is the earliest version of Kermit?
Are you thinking of the Wilkins coffee commercials?
Yeah, wasn't that the earliest version of Kermit?
That is definitely not Kermit.
I thought.
Is it an early version of Kermit? If it is, I never knew it was. That's a sadistic version of Kermit, man.
Who knows? The point is, I did really like this one. The earliest version of Kermit the Frog was created by Jim Henson in 1955 for Sam and Friends.
Oh, okay. All right. I could get into StreamYard because Little Blue, the issue is just that I think you've tried to send me an email before and it just didn't go through. So the issue is I just need a way to contact you. So if you're not comfortable putting your email here, then like Pi suggested, maybe click on the link in the description to go to the boards that we're hosting this on, make an account, message the original Tiki on there. All right. Okay, so yes,
Steamboats. Ultimately, the big thing that came down to was this just felt like such a sincere attraction and just such like a genuine heart to it. The care both for the characters, For the guests, it just was a very heartfelt thing. And that's probably what made it so difficult to judge this round, because do you go with the very hilarious joke project that we're going to get to, like amazingly well done, or the very sincere, heartfelt Muppet Sesame Street crossover? And it was not easy to compare. But Team Boats nailed the sincerity. Like, the part at the beginning where they're just arriving and the Muppets characters are like asking for directions and they start singing that, "Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?" Like theme song. Like, you know, every adult writing that's gonna get like goosebumps, like, "Oh my goodness."
And the kids writing are just not going to care.
Yeah.
I kid.
Like, And
all right.
According to LEB, it's Wilkins and Wontkins for the coffee commercial.
I will say, when I went to the Jim Henson exhibition in San Francisco, it wasn't San Francisco, it's a traveling show. The Wilkins Muppets, those were some of the highlights, seeing them in person.
That's cool.
Because they're fucking obscure, dude. Oh. They're deep cuts.
So for Team Boats, though, the one last thing I would like to note and call out is I really liked in the queue when you go through the cloud, how that's where they have the misters to cool you down. That was a really neat touch. Anything else you would like to note about Team Boats? More thoughts you have on it?
Honestly, not really. I think the character interactions and the pairings were the best part of the attraction for sure. Again, I just think, just based on the premise of this project and the prompt itself, I'm leaning more towards the Nera Dreamland side of things as far as who I would personally give the win to. But like I said, this is very much not an issue of like, you know, this team is struggling and you just gave the team the win just for a moral victory. It's clearly not that. I mean, I think both teams did really perform this round. So,
oh yeah. Both teams nailed it. I can definitely see giving Birds the win. I almost did. I was not kidding when I said this was probably the closest round I've had to judge in like a competition like this.
Okay, a Little Blue, really quick, if you can message me on Facebook, then do so and just say, "Yo, it's Little Blue." However, I seem to remember that someone did try and send me a friend request a while ago, and I think it might have been you, and I wasn't sure, so I didn't actually add you. So if that's the case, if you can't message me, just send me another friend request, and this time I will know it's you. All right.
All right.
Okay, so I think that's it.
And yes, LEB, sincerity is for losers.
All right, let's talk about Team Birds. First of all, Pi, I want to know, when did you first hear about Nera Dreamland? What was your first exposure to Nera Dreamland?
I think it was the Funkland video. It's not something I really knew a ton about.
Okay. I'm going to give y'all some fun pre-YouTube theme park internet culture history here. All right. Have you ever heard of Theme Park Review?
Yeah.
Theme Park Review is a website that mostly specializes in, they were like the first people, like even before YouTube, they were filming POVs of coasters and they would just like sell the POVs in DVD compilations and stuff like that. And they were also very well known for their trip reports and their forums. Like, they had a really robust community, which unfortunately is just not very active anymore. But one of the most famous posts that they ever made was during the it was a husband and wife who ran it. I have issues with the guy. The guy literally kicked me out of his Facebook page for no reason. I have issues with him. Rob Alvey, sir, you are not a nice man. That's all I'm going to say. it's actually one of those things where Rob Alvey was like an initial like big running joke between some of my early Imagineering friends, and he's kind of just faded into irrelevancy these days. But man, Rob Alvey's the type of guy where it's like if you're on the forums and you ask a dumb question, he will jump down your fucking throat. Like he has no patience for people that don't know what's going on. He will fucking jump down your throat. Anyways, just wanted to get that out there. So him and his wife took a trip to Japan, and they did one post. It was like a blog post that was laying out Nara Dreamland, and I will never forget it. I'm pretty damn sure I was in my middle school computer lab when I discovered it. And legitimately, that article changed my life. Like, I'm not even kidding. That article fucking blew my mind. Because it laid out exactly what Nara Dreamland is. It showed like, the weird Matterhorn, the funky castle, the main street with all the decrepit buildings. And it just kind of laid out everything about it. And yeah, I was to say I was fascinated by the place, understatement. I was like almost kind of like obsessed with the place, dude. And yeah, Nara Dreamland, very much, I feel like it's a mythical kind of park in the theme park fandom landscape. It's very much like if you did go to it, obviously you probably had a shitty time, but it was also probably super memorable and surreal, and maybe the closest thing that you could get to actually going into the Twilight Zone.
Amazing.
So, with that in mind, let's talk about this presentation, because first off, I just want to acknowledge the actual presentation side of things. I love the fact that this team frames the whole attraction around this Birdman character. And I love it so much because just the idea of just a random theme park enthusiast blogger who just happens to have a fixation on on birds. It's so dumb and so random that it's like honestly freakishly realistic.
Yeah. The whole blog and the video because it's such an authenticity to the tone of the writing, to just everything about it. They nailed it on that.
Indeed. I mean, it's pretty mind blowing. I like the logo, man. The logo, I can't get over the logo.
Oh yeah. Just a little bird with the suit hand.
I'm actually gonna try and screen share it really quick.
it's yeah, so background's right. He is the theme park enthusiast who's also obsessed with birds. And Ace Astro said they also have a history of
so it's like this feels like it's a Paragon OC, right?
I forget if it was Paragon or Ace who came up with the Birdman initially. I think it was Paragon, though. But team did a really good job having like one voice. Because LEB did the blog and Ace did the video and Paragon did the writing for parts of the blog itself, but also other people did the writing for the ride through, and it all sounded and all felt like one voice. I believe Harvey Birdman, the one attorney at law.
Well, I think of Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.
That was the other option given by a anime fan. I forget the actual name.
So yeah, this is just glorious. And I do love the fact that the name is just Birdman, that it is just a very generic name. I feel like that just adds another layer of authenticity to it.
Even if it's just as an Easter egg, I'm hoping Birdman comes back in more rounds.
Also, holy shit, I need to end that screen share before I get copyright flagged because of that ad.
Yay.
That has happened before.
Ads in YouTube. Really? But it's so tiny.
I know, right?
Wow.
It happened during the Oscar nominations podcast this past year. We were on the Oscar website and there was a little banner ad like that. And then all of a sudden, it just, like, in the middle of the broadcast, YouTube was like, nope, you ain't showing that ad.
Amazing. The modern internet. It's so good. Everything about the internet today, it's great.
All right. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. I honestly think that everything about this project really understood the assignment very well. Again, I'm not saying that the Sesame Place was a bad project by any means. It was great. But I feel like this truly got the kind of like bizarro, tongue-in-cheek energy of what this prompt was really going for. So everything from the actual backstory of the ride itself, I thought it was really inspired to have this attraction basically be constantly in a state of disrepair, like even before it opened. I think that was great.
Oh, yeah.
And then just the actual execution of it. So, I mean, let's...
Oh. No, this is definitely much more in line with what I was expecting when I was writing the prompt people to do. And they nailed the comedy. They nailed that tone. They did it great.
Also, the video, dude.
Right? No, we should pause and talk about that.
Like, we literally have like a 10-minute long, like, Defunctland style documentary about an attraction that straight up doesn't exist.
Yeah. This has been, I mentioned in the review, for like a long time now, one of my like dream presentation styles was wanting to do like a Defunctland style of video on a ride we make, even though it never existed. And just it never came to a good time to do it. There was never like the right fit, or if there was a project that'd be good for it, just never had time. So I thought, maybe I'll do it someday. That one might just stay extreme. That'd be really complicated to do anyways. And it's just logged on one day and just said, yeah, I'll do a video. And I think, oh, that's gonna be really great, really cool. See like a nice like 2-minute video, and 10 minutes. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it was like there's Defunctland videos that are like 15 minutes, so it's practically the length of a real Defunctland video.
Yeah. It was like obviously not like the exact like high standards if it was being published as an actual video essay, but it wasn't like bad or cheaply made or anything like that. Like it was a good video too.
Yeah. Like, to tell you the truth, I was actually low-key kind of invested in it. I was like, oh man, when's this fucking ride actually gonna open?
And really happy for Boatman. Boatman, trans. I'm not sure exactly everything going on in the chat, what the proper name is now. But yeah, good for Boatman.
So Ace, I actually think that Kevin could totally do like an hour and a half video about Nara if he really wanted to. That's actually one of the things I do hope he eventually does, is goes back to some of the very early videos and really expands them. Because I think some of those topics, you can make a meal out of them. Like, I really don't think he explored everything that Nara had to offer in that one video.
Oh, yeah. Which, it's
really, but I'm still waiting for Defunctland on Pacific Ocean Park, though.
That'd be great. But yeah, no, Ace is right. That video is only 16 minutes, and I was showing Orangebird before this podcast because they hadn't heard of Nara Dream, and I'm like, no, let's sit you down, let's watch this. That way you know what's going on. And we sat down, and I was like, oh, thank goodness it's not one of the hour and a half long ones.
It wouldn't surprise me if he goes back to Nara. Yeah, and I respect that Kevin is very much like, he is in that point in his YouTube career where he's not rushing videos at all. It takes exactly how long it takes for him to put a video out, but when he does put a video out, it's super high quality. Totally respect that.
Oh, yeah.
He has redone videos
Great
before
stuff.
in season 1, so I could see it. Yeah, I think Nara is definitely one of the big ones in season 1. That there's so much more material he could cover.
Oh, yeah. But as far as the ride goes, like we said, it really captures that knockoff tone. I forget who described it this way first, but they said our mission statement is to make this ride as if it's designed by an old Japanese man who saw Beauty and the Beast once 20 years ago. And like, okay, sure, let's do it.
I don't know for sure, but that absolutely sounds like something that Jokers would say.
Yeah. But no, they nailed that. I love the gag of the Beauty and the Beast being the wrong Beauty because they used Sleeping Beauty. Gaston being the human version of the Beast.
Gaston being the human version of the Beast was priceless. Well, Belle, I guess I was the hero the whole time.
Yep. Great.
One of my personal favorite touches was the Enchantress just being the witch from Snow White.
Amazing. I think if I remember correctly, like Monorail Red was only going to draw the hand, and I was like, no, I'm having too much fun. I'm going to draw the whole thing.
Yeah, in Red, I love how it's like the first project, Red was like cracking out all this like highly detailed, like really sophisticated art. And now this project, the art looks just as good, but it's for stuff that's just wacky as shit. That's great.
Oh, yeah. Tiki really is an elderly Japanese businessman at heart. I agree with Ellie.
I mean, Tiki is just an elderly Japanese businessman. You didn't know that?
You know what?
That's
I
just his identity. I'm surprised that flew under the radar for you. He's by far the elder statesman of the forum. All right.
I know he was. He's one of those people who, when I joined the forum, was like already like, I'm pretty much well established. I'm gonna more or less retire and just pop in every time, and that was 8 years ago.
Yeah, no, he was well established when Vision's Fantastic made the switch over to WDWMagic. Like, and honestly, I think he's probably like one of the very few, like him and Red are like two of the very few people from that original lineup. Like Voxel, England, those kind of people, they just kind of like came and went. D. Hindley was there. He's still around somewhat, but he doesn't really play the games anymore. But yeah, Tiki and Red.
There you go. They're great. It's seeing them walk together.
It is cool seeing them work together, yeah.
I think for me, one of my favorite little details.
Because Red, usually when she plays, she's very much in kind of like a mentor type role. Like we talked about this in the cast assessment. And it's really nice to see her like actively on her game mode. Not that she wasn't talented in the time she's played, but I really feel like this time she's like really out to win. She doesn't care. I mean, I'm sure she probably cares on some level about being someone to look up to, but it's not like her primary goal for this season.
No, this definitely feels different than other times I've seen Red play. Like Red feels actually in it to win it. And yes, LEB, this is the retirement home game. That wasn't like the intention, but really did turn out all these people who like, yeah, I'll play every once in a while. You just more like a support, a mentor role, all back in it. But yeah, no.
And all really playing strong too.
Oh yeah.
Shit, you know what I literally forgot about until just now?
What?
We need to name an MVP.
Ah, yes. If you're in the chat, this will affect not the main game, but will affect mine and Tiki's ongoing rivalry of the what is it? LEB. I know you like calling it out. There's a delay. Why did I do that? The draft.
Also, I'm going to go ahead and say that people cannot be MVP twice in a row. So you can't vote for red this time.
Ooh, that's a good one. So
that means that one of us is going to be ahead. Because remember, we both have 5 points. So one of us is going to be down to 4 points after this.
Ooh.
You know what? It's we've been live for about 45 minutes, about 46 minutes. I'm going to give it until the 50-minute mark, so about 5 minutes. We already have 1 vote for Ace Astro.
Understandable. Trying to nerf me, Tiki? But yeah, no, call out who you think should be MVP. Go for it. MVP last time was Monorail Red.
MVP last time Red.
Them.
Yeah. Colby also voting for Ace.
While they're doing
Is
that,
Ace on my team? Do you know that for a fact? I forget.
I don't remember who's on which team.
I'm going to pull up that post.
Opie's got it. But one thing I did want to shout out as a really good small detail is the living bathtub and shower. Just because the idea of it shooting up the bubbles just feels like the exact kind of like effect they would try and shoehorn in. And I love that. Like it felt so real because of that. We're getting a lot of
and just how disjointed everything feels. Like I love how it goes from like straight up like this is like creepy and ominous in the dungeon to like be our guest.
Mm-hmm.
I was total whiplash in the best way.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, Muppets fan, no voting for yourself.
Are you keeping track of the votes here?
Yep, Obi is on it.
You can vote for yourself. I don't.
Okay, never mind. You can vote for yourself. But we got Ace being called out. We got Architectural Guinea Pig, AGP. We got T-Cool. We got Outbound. This is a lot of variety in the people being nominated today.
Definitely more than last week.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and meanwhile, I'm... Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's Sincerity versus Humor was the big difference, AGP. But then, like you said, Write Up versus History was also it.
Like...
I think we might be lagging a bit. I don't know if it's on my end.
It's currently like storming in California weather-wise, so that's
rain in California.
Yeah, that's probably why we're having a little bit of a delay because of the weather on my end. In California, when it rains, it pours, and then when it doesn't rain, it droughts. So I am going to go because I was trying to look for it on my laptop, but just was not participating. I'm going to try and look for it in the actual game thread.
We can also always settle up points later if
okay.
But
you have Ace.
Which it's looking like, unless anything changes.
What's the does Obi have the final tally?
What's the tally at for now? Double checking if there's any last minute ones. Final tally 3 votes for Ace, 2 votes for AGP, 1 for T Cool, and 1 for Outbound. So officially, unless what's that new comment?
Okay.
Yeah, officially, Ace Astro is the MVP this week. It was a tough round.
All right. Well, congratulations, Pi. You are officially in the lead.
Mwahaha.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this was 2 great projects, 2 very different angles, both in presentation style and tone, and just how they approached the prompt in general, and both did it really well. Ace Astro is the Birdman. And you know what? As a Floridian, I do have to agree. It's not the heat that gets you. It's the humidity. And maybe we are all the Birdman.
Very much so. Oh, absolutely. No doubt about that. Clearly a little bit of a delay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and just end this here. Are you okay with that, Pi?
I think this is a good spot to end of that. I had a lot of fun. I hope you all did too.
Okay, big thanks to AGP, Muppet Fan, LEB, Colby, Little Blue. I will get back to you, hopefully. Theme Park Priest, Ace Astro. Is that it? Is that all the people that we had?
Queued in for the
Picks popping up. Outbound. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I think that's everyone.
Y'all rock. Any thoughts on the next project? Any advice?
Ooh. My advice. Have fun with it. The water parks are a lower stress place, and water rides take less to ride up, so you can, whether you get crazier with what you're doing with the project or you keep it more small scale, whatever you're doing, this is a good opportunity to have some fun and do some wilder things, whether it's with the presentation or with your topic. This is a good time to experiment.
All right. Okay, well, with that in mind, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next week for the first elimination. Oh, boy.
Ooh. And go watch Fraggle Rock.
Prepared for that. Please do. Down in Fraggle